doesn't care if the steak isn't real, as long as it's juicy and delicious, he's still going to eat it. So.
We've got a blue mage, Sean Weihe, on your right, but it's the blue aggro deck, the mono blue devotion, making waves in this format at Pro Tour Dublin.
Right, yeah, it's, Sean Weihe actually had some success in the last, not the last one I commentated, the one before, I think in Minnesota, doing very well. Obviously no stranger to success. Adrian Sullivan as well has performed pretty well throughout the years, more notably for his active role in Star City Games, running articles, as well as...
Look at that, he's wearing the SCG Live button-up shirt.
Yeah, he actually just can't get enough of us, so he just wants to rep it at all times, which is respectable. So he's playing upside down cards.
Starts out with a Fire Drinker Satyr. Fantastic one drop.
Alright, so let's see. He's going to have a very skill-intensive few turns here. He's probably going to play some more creatures here and then attack with them.
Ash Zealot joins the crew. Now those look like snow-covered mountains, but they're not.
Are we going to have the age-old debate of how much thinking goes in the red deck, or oh, Omen Speaker, my other favorite card. Ooh, there's actually the matchup where you want it, right? Bunch of 2-power creatures.
Yeah, 1/3. More importantly, 2/1 creatures. There's a lot of those. So Adrian Sullivan's gonna need a something like a Goblin Shortcutter. Is he playing that build?
Well, he definitely has a Mizium Mortar he can use on it. He's got Lightning Strike. Got a few cards. If he has a burn spell, he's obviously going to dispatch this Omen Speaker. And the problem with the Omen Speaker, as you've seen, and the real weakness of the card is that it doesn't net you anything. Scry 2 is not the greatest thing in the world when it comes to wasting a card for it. But luckily, he's playing against the deck, the only deck where it actually has a real game, like in-game impact, where it has to be dealt with. This is the deck you wanted it against.
I don't even, well, this one, because Adrian is actually on a Boros playing here, but the mono red decks are playing so many Falter guys. Fire Fist Striker, Goblin Shortcutter.
Yeah.
I don't know if that Omen Speaker would ever get into block, but here, Adrian's going to have to think a little, and his deck actually features Stormbreath Dragon, so he's got a bit of a late game that he can go over the top with.
Yep, so he's going to send in and going to pump here. So Sean actually makes his Omen Speaker do a little something here in this match.
Yeah, eats the Fire Drinker Satyr and Adrian Sullivan's turn.
Yeah, I think Adrian has another land, and then I think he has a Cackler in his hand. I think he has, I think I see a Cackler. Yep. Or see him come and play untapped. And here comes Mr. Cackle here. That was the sound of a Cackler, I think, right? Is that when it's unleashed? Is that the unleashed sound?
That would be the next generation, right? For cards, is that they come with sound effects.
Yeah.
So Night Veil Spectre for Sean.
Or for our last feature we did, where our player tasted his own cards. So maybe flavored cards.
Taste it, yeah.
Yeah, or scratch and sniff magic cards. I don't want to. Not the black ones though, because those have like decay and stuff on them. We don't want that. So we have mortars here to dispatch the 2/3. And
this
then you
is
have
the thing with these aggro decks. He's playing the Temple, the Scry land, but I don't know about that for an aggro deck like that features 1-drops.
It's definitely interesting. He's got more land. Oh, look how many land he's playing. He's playing a lot of land. He's playing 20. Let's see, 17, 21. He's playing 25 land in his red deck.
Well, he's playing 2 colors. And he's playing 4 mutavaults.
Yeah, he's going to need the I think if you're playing white, you're going to have to play 4 temple. It's a necessary evil, and that's another advantage of the mono red deck. I think if he's playing, you can't just have 4 Sacred Foundries and call it a day. It's a little too risky. So it's kind of like the necessary must thing. So Adrian has a lot of things on the board. He knows I'm going to pick on him after this match when he comes to talk to us about his play choices here.
Or is he Hellbent? I think he's Hellbent.
I think so too.
So hoping that the board can deal with this. He does have mana up to pump the Fire Drinker. There you go. So Sean Weihe
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gives a 3 life. Not many things Sean can do here. Looking at his deck, I think he's on no outs.
Master of Waves.
Oh yeah, Master of Waves have been decent there. You're right. I think but Omen Speaker comes down. Master of Waves is another one of those things. Pro red. Pretty relevant ability there, right? I found that I think the protection, these new pro cards, when it either comes to Blood Baron from the last set, when we're talking about the Dragon or Master Waves, the pro color cards are really, it just does a deck in, you know? Like
Very well timed, the pro red.
Yeah.
But he does not have a Master of the Waves. He follows up the Omen Speaker with a Frostburn Weird.
Well, luckily Adrian is just, you know, pretty much any card he draws is live here. If he draws any of his spells, he's going to win. Like even Pyromancer makes a creature, you know, not able to block. Boros Charm kills him. Lightning Strike kills him. Mizium Mortars with another land overloaded will do the trick. Or actually just put it on that Night Veil Spectre, and that's it too. But right now, Adrian can't attack. He's going to have to just, unless he wants to send his 1-drop in.
Yeah, he can attack with a Fire Drinker Satyr, just trade for any creature.
Weird. Yeah.
Most likely it would be the Omen Speaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah, just throw that in front of it.
So Sean's Mono Blue Devotion deck, this is the deck that Team Star City Games came up with for the Pro Tour. You can check out the coverage at teamstarcitygames.com for some interviews and some updates. This deck actually, 37 people played Mono Blue Devotion in Dublin. 17 of them went 4-1 or 5-0 for a 45% doing X1 or better with this deck on day one.
Pretty good.
That's very good. That is the best of any of the archetypes from the Pro Tour with 10 or more representatives.
Oh, and there he is. No, that's a god, Thassa. Scared me for a minute. I thought that was the Master of Waves. So Thassa here.
But it's a creature.
It's a creature. He is fully indestructible. With only 2 other creatures out, that Night Veil Spectre really does the trick here.
Oh. There you go. Adrian Sullivan going big in this deck with Stormbreath Dragon as opposed to something like Fanatic of Mogus.
It's a pretty good draw there.
Gets there.
But like we said, there's a lot of cards you could draw in there that have been very good. Obviously,
that's
Fuse,
one of the best, though.
Yeah. You could just draw a Lightning Strike and that would be it, or Boros Charm. 7 of those cards just kill Sean on the spot.
Well, you gotta find something to deal with 2 flyers.
Yeah, looking at his
Sean.
list, he has nothing.
Yeah, he's got Cyclonic Rifts, 4 of them, but not enough to overload.
Yeah.
So he's dead to the 2 flyers unless he finds an answer, and yeah, he scoops them up.
Yeah. Adrian had a pretty good. Well, I mean, his deck does what his deck does. You know, plays a lot of things, attacks on.
He scooped it up right there, basically scrying on the stack. On Moto, does it still reveal the scry to your opponent when you do that? Because I know there was a bug where if you're in the middle of looking at cards in your library and then you concede, it will reveal those cards.
Oh.
Because it's like a kind of pseudo zone on Magic Online.
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't know. I have actually never been in that situation. Interesting though. So it looks like Sean's going to go to the board and he has Sensory Deprivation, 3 of them, or 2 of them. It's a funny card, obviously going to come in this matchup. He's also got a Voyage's End, a Rapid Hybridization. I don't know if Rapid Hybridization is good in this match. I probably wouldn't bring that in. I wouldn't want to give, even though the Dragon is a nightmare, do you think he wants a second one of those and give his opponent 3/3s instead? Oh, it's kind of tough.
He's going to bring in the extra copies of Tidebinder Mage, though.
Yeah, those definitely are very good. All right, so Paul Ritzel in Pro Tour update, he won his match, so he is X3, and he may be locked for top 8. So we're trying to keep tabs on the Pro Tour, give you guys updates when we get them. But here in Milwaukee, we have Adrian Sullivan versus Sean Weihe. Aggro match. Again, we've discussed many times earlier, for those just joining us, that there's just so many options to play. There's the world is your oyster when it comes to aggro. You just put anything together, even in control right now. And
I like oysters.
Yeah, the oysters are good. I don't like them raw though. It's kind of like a snotty
come
like
on.
texture. No, it's kind of like goopy.
You can't cook oysters.
You gotta steam those things. Come on now. We're not cavemen anymore. Even they had fire. Let's go now. Gotta cook some stuff. But so we have these decks, and actually, you know what? Come to think of it, the only deck that's not around really, these mid-range decks are kind of gone. I'm seeing a lot of just very fast decks, very controlled decks, and you don't see many mid-rangey decks out there. The true mid-range, kind of like the Farseek into Huntmaster. Since that's not around anymore, I don't see many straight-up mid-range decks. There is a red-green deck from the Pro Tour that's as close as it gets to that, where it plays all the Planeswalkers that are, on color there. It even plays a Garrett Caller Beast here, and Mahara's green, basic mono green deck here. But still consider that aggressive though, because all the other cards here with Burning Tree emissaries and things are just very, very fast. So maybe it's a control and aggro time, and mid-range is taking a little break.
So Adrian Sullivan on your left took game 1. He does have an answer in his sideboard for the Master of Waves. He's got 3 copies of Chained to the Rocks.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that you need to enchant on Mountain, it's a white card, so it gets around the pro red.
Yeah, it's definitely a good. It definitely brings it in against this deck. It deals with Night Veil Spectre also, which is kind of a Frostborn weird, which is a 1/4. A lot of his burn can't touch that, like Lightning Strike. He has 3 Shock in the board. I've been seeing Shock everywhere. How is Shock on?
Oh, Shock is a very good card, especially in these kinds of aggro mirrors. You want to have a 1 mana answer that will normally take out a blocker. Now, the green decks can go kind of big, but it's still good enough. And like I said, the 1 mana really matters. I had it, the deck I borrowed had a couple of Magma Jets, and I said, no, I want to take these out because 2 mana to deal 2 damage is, even with the Scry, it's just like, you don't care about Scry. You just got to get lucky with your top decks.
I'm in the same boat as you. Like, at first I was real excited about Magma Jet, but it's just not as good as it used to be. It's not as good in this
Creatures
format.
got bigger.
Creatures are big, yeah. You can't. It doesn't kill anything, and if it does kill something, you need it in the sideboard. But Magma Jet's not really a sideboard card. I'd rather pay 1. I'd rather take off half the cost to remove the Scry. Yeah, I'm with you on that part.
Yeah, if you're going to board in an extra spell to deal with opposing creatures, it's Mizium Mortars.
Yeah.
Just want to go straight for 4 and have the potential of blowing them out with an overload.
He also has 1 copy of Tajik, Blade of the Legion. These are indestructible.
2/2 that gets +5/+5 when you get your battalion together.
And that's a fantastic card too, because it's indestructible. So the turn you play it, it basically blocks anything in the aggressive mirror. Also, it's invulnerable to Supreme Verdict. So it's got a lot of upside to it there. But then again, you know, when you're paying 4 mana in a red deck, you're definitely it definitely better do a good amount of work for you. So right now they're doing their mulligans. Looks like we have Sean mulliganing.
All right, Adrian Sullivan going to see if he can take this match with his red-white aggro deck, going a little bit bigger than some of the mono-red aggros. The Stormbreath Dragon.
I'm sorry. My mistake. They're both on
What
7.
are those sleeves that Adrian is playing with? Those are very... It seems like there's a bunch of words written on them or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably Adrian's quite the academic. Probably has the full Declaration of Independence on his sleeves, so he can read, you know, and keep himself entertained and sharp during the match.
Oh.
Maybe he's got, like, you know, some kind of like the Federalist Papers actually probably going a little bit before that, so they can he'd definitely be enthralled by his.
So he doesn't need to steal the Declaration of Independence. He's got it on his sleeves.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that Adrian
If
would
only
do for
Nicolas
fun.
Cage had had those sleeves. Well, he's going to 6 here now.
All right, so Adrian mulligans. All right, so it's the sleeves at the beginning of Pose the Raven. So I was close. It was actually something boring history. So very good. Go, Adrian. I love that guy. He's a nice guy. He definitely is a unique individual. Good friend of mine. So we have Sean here with a Mutavault as a second land, and he's going to be playing the Omen Speaker.
Which pumps the Cloudfin Raptor.
This reminds me of like a limited match. It basically played a worse Frilled Oculus there, getting this the blue evolved deck going. Let's see what happens here. 1 on top, 1 on bottom. Optimal, if you will, right? Keep a good one, drop a bad one.
I like shipping both to the bottom.
Do you?
Yeah.
Just hoping for the next card to be magical?
Yeah, because the next card is going to be much better.
Yeah, look at Omen Speaker do work against the red deck here. It's funny, again, like, if you had to pick, it has to be against the red deck, because, like we said, the other aggressive decks utilize 3 power. Yeah, they're just too big, and the Omen Speaker does nothing. Basically a mulligan to 6 when you play it. But against this deck, it's obviously very good. So in comes the little Drake. And then we have not quite enough devotion for the god to come to life here.
Need 5, got 3. Still gonna scry, and Adrian Sullivan, already his offense is stymied. Cannot get through an Omen Speaker. Doubles down on Ash Zealots to get 2 damage through.
That's a card that got a lot worse in this new set anyway, I think, as well. Just the flashback being gone, so it's Snapcaster Mage gone, because Ash Zealot was definitely a powerhouse against those decks. Lingering Souls. But now it's just a 2/2 haste for 2, which isn't too bad, but
The first strike.
First strike. The graveyard just, I missed the graveyard ability on that card.
Ooh, and a Bident.
Oh, wow. We're drawing some cards here.
Which makes its Master Thassa into a creature. Sean attacks with all 3 creatures and picks up 3 cards off the Bident's triggered abilities.
This card, when spoiled, I put it on my first article saying that this is going to be a card in Standard. Not particularly in my deck, but it will be a card because having that, it says draw cards on it.
Yeah.
It's 4 mana. It's Edric, as a lot of you EDH guys know, or excuse me, Commander guys know. And that ability on Edric makes it a card, and this card is an artifact, all hard to remove already. It's double blue, so it fits the devotion curve, and is definitely potent. I mean, I'm not gonna, insult anyone with intelligence by saying that I knew this card was gonna go in a devotion deck. I just know that when a card says draw cards on it, it's gonna be played.
And the activated ability, not to be dismissed, if you get into a standoff, you can force your opponent to attack, which you can either, make some favorable blocks to kill some creatures, or just kind of get all of your opponent's blockers out of the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if I'm Adrian here, you have to tag with all 3, and it sounds awful, but you're not going to win this game holding back and blocking an Omen Speaker to stop him drawing a card here.
No, because Sean at this point has such a big advantage, and now Voyage's in to get rid of the blocker, activates a Mutavault, attacks with 4
Voyage's
creatures.
in a Scry, right? Bounce creature Scry.
Yeah, but the game's over.
I was wondering if it was or not. I just get my new card.
It does Scry 1.
Okay. All right, so Sean Weihe taking Adrian to game 3. Now Adrian is in his spot where he wants to be. Game 3 on the play. He needs a hand with 1-drops. I think in this matchup, as you saw, if your first plays on turn 2 and then he plays guy, indestructible guy, you're in trouble. So I think definitely on the play is where he needs to be at. Sean Weihe's match comes down to, on the draw, I think a Frostborn Weird on turn 2 is where he wants to be, stopping any offense that Adrian will have, because he just can't kill that guy. He needs a Mizium Mortar to kill a Frostborn Weird. Otherwise, it's sitting there putting up the wall, putting up the defense.
Adrian needs to draw more lands because his deck goes bigger, and he does not have the explosive Burning Tree Emissary starts that the mono red decks have. He can't just spit out a bunch of creatures and then have some Falter guys as backup. He does not have the Falter guys, so it's an aggro deck, but it's a bit more of a mid-range deck, I think.
Yeah, I see that Sean's deck here. And we mentioned earlier when we were talking about new standard, how this mono blue deck, and I think adding blue to your deck when you're an aggro deck adds a dimension that makes you more potent against the aggro decks. He's weak to Supreme Verdict, but he's going to be stronger against the aggro decks. Look, he has Cyclonic Rift, he has Voyage's End that we just saw right there, he has 3 mana 5/5 indestructible creatures. He has evasion creatures. Then he has a pro red creature, all because the blue adds that different dimension to the aggro matchup. So I think in this matchup I would have my money on Sean in a vacuum. However, it's Magic, anything can happen. So I think that the red decks obviously punish control decks. Punish right now. I am petrified when playing against a red deck. We were playing Moto last night, and you saw a red deck just annihilate me. And it happens once in a while, because that deck is just tough to beat for control. But in this matchup, I would not want to see a Master on the other side, Master of Waves on the other side of the board.
Yeah, that's a tough nut to crack. Master of Waves, protection from red. We'll see if Adrian Sullivan brought in his Chain to the Rocks to deal with that. We'll see if he can find himself a better hand.
Yeah, definitely. And Adrian also has multiple Mizium Mortars that can deal with the other guys. So he has options, he has outs. But Sean's deck is just great. He has 4 Tiebender Mages after Sideboard. That's a lot. It's a lot of good stuff. And Sensory Deprivation is a surprisingly good card in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, a little surprising that he's playing that over the Claustrophobias that were favored in the Team Star City Games build.
Claustrophobia has to be better because it's 2 blue.
The Devotion
involved in it too, and they can't just chump block either. Your creatures is just tap for good. So All right, so Adrian's mulliganing. On the play, and like you said, he does have a lot of come and play tap lands and then 4 mutavault, so you can, there's definitely a lot of hands you got to mulligan here. So we got news that Sam Black should be locked for top 8 in Dublin. You mentioned the Nationals in 2008. Sam Black is the one who beat me in my first round of Nationals. I was pretty salty about that, but now Sam Black is a good guy. Hope he does well. He's also playing the mono blue deck at the Pro Tour. Adrian Sullivan, Mutavault turn 1. Tack for 2. This is not where you want to be.
No. I want to be playing creatures.
Oh, I see a Boros Charm in his hand. Boros Charm is just terrible in this matchup, I think, don't you? You can't hit any creatures. He doesn't really do much in combat. He doesn't have any ways. Blue deck don't have any removal spells to force you to give indestructibility. I don't think you can keep Boros Charm in against this deck.
Adrian Sullivan here, having trouble finding good hands, and maybe that's a problem with his deck.
Maybe
it's trying to do some different things here.
Trying to do a little much, and we see this come down, the Nightveil Spectre, and the issue again is when you're playing mono red, you have a consistency to it, Well, with this deck, you're hurting the mana base a little bit.
Things getting a little spicy. The Chandra.
Yeah. Sean's gonna have to probably devote attacks to that card now.
Yeah, for sure.
And he has Thassa in his hand.
Gonna have to both come at Chandra here. Knock her down to 2.
Okay, so he's gonna play Master of Waves, I think, is in his hand. Yep. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
Well, here we go. Now we'll see. Adrian Sullivan, can you chain that Master to the rocks?
Yeah. He has a Mizzy Moore in his hand, which doesn't do anything to the Master plan there. It kills all the little guys, but it still leaves you with a pro red guy. But that's 6 mana. We're still far away from that. So let's see what the Scry
Temple
deals.
of Triumph, Scry. Not sure what he's doing with the card.
So
yeah, leaving the Master itself around off of a Mizzy Moore's Overload is trouble because another Master comes down and then the tokens are even bigger.
Yeah, and it's just not a winning proposition. Adrian hopes that he'll attack with the Master of Waves and then he'll block with the Mutavault. Don't think that's going to happen though. So Adrian peeks at the top card. He probably should have activated Chandra first, but I guess he's thinking about pinging off one of the tokens. He's in a world of hurt right now. So let's see
The tide has turned here for Sean Weihe. Are we still scrying?
No, I think he activated Chandra. Kind of the backwards order, I think. But let's see what it does. So he just removes it. Says go. And Adrian's kind of fallen victim to just having kind of weak hands. The only mistake I've seen is playing Boros Charm here and leaving it in. Because that is the only card in his deck that is a true do-nothing card. Dealing 4 damage to your opponent is not going to be good in this situation. Indestructibility is not good in this situation. Double Strike's not good in this situation. So it could have been something else, but who knows? If it was a Chain of the Rocks, then we're in trouble, If it could have been that.
Yeah, we don't even know if Adrian's brought Chain to the Rocks in.
Right. Sean Weihe's about to tap and produce a ton of mana.
Oh wow, Shrine's gonna make 1, 2, 5, 6,
Another
7.
Master.
Uses 4 of it for a Master.
I think Adrian has does he have Mortis in his hand? No, he has a Wear and Tear. What's the Wear and Tear for?
The Bident?
Yeah. The only problem is there's not many of those in his deck, maybe. How many bites are there?
God, it can't only be like more than 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm looking. 2, yeah.
Sean Weihe running out of elemental wave tokens.
Have you noticed this too? Playing an aggressive deck, you really can't divert too much sideboarding to specific answers, because if you draw those instead of removal or burn or creatures, you kind of put yourself in a hole there. I've noticed that about aggro. I don't know if it's just me or...
Oh, like the wear and tear? Yeah, I would not play wear and tear.
Yeah, it's just
I would just ignore whatever. I want all of my removal to be able to go upstairs to the player.
Definitely, I'm with you on
Burn
that.
spells.
I'm on the board of that.
If it were something like a Smash to Smithereens that also did damage, I could see having them.
That's an interesting card. They could have printed here with all these new legendary artifacts. I guess red's good enough, so let me not give Watts any ideas here.
So, only attacking with the tokens. That is a tidal wave coming at Adrian Sullivan.
Yeah, Adrian is down to...
Oh, coming at the Chandra.
Yeah, I like this attack here.
How many at the Chandra?
I'm not sure, but I like the attack at Chandra because the only out Adrian has is like an overload of Mizium Mortars.
Yeah,
and you just got to make sure you don't... Oh, there's a Chain to the Rocks.
But now there's 2 Masters, so you can't get...
Can't chain them both.
Oh.
You don't have enough chains in your deck right now. So, Chain of the Rocks is a card that I saw spoiled and I got really excited about. I'm a little less excited about it now. I was at 4 and I'm at 2 in my deck. Only because people are playing Peak Eruption, I think, when they blow up the mountain and deal 3 damage.
Yeah, so Adrian Sullivan extends the hand there. 1 Chain to the Rocks was not going to be enough now that Sean played the 2nd Master. And we also saw Nykthos, Shrine Nyx, doing a lot of work there, making huge amounts of mana, the Devotion land, legendary land.